Good morning, folks. Kirk here with Kirk Giordano Plastering. Today, what I'm going to do is a simple window. Where the window goes to this door here, they left 3 inches and expected us to tie in. What we're going to do is we're going to break the whole thing out. And I'm going to break it out with this Bosch because if I just try to pull this out with my hammers, what it'll do is it'll rip this wood right here because it's keyed in. The stucco is keyed into this redwood stop, meaning it has a groove. So I got to break it out first with this guy here and then pull it out. Then I'm going to break all this out, and what I want to do is expose 2 inches of paper, 3 inches of wire, or vice versa. When it's existing like this, we try to get 3 and 3, but sometimes the paper is deteriorated. So we're going to go ahead and bust this out. The next time you see me, I won't show you breaking this out because dust goes everywhere and I don't want it in our camera. My son asked me a pretty good question. What are all those wood strips? These are fir strips, meaning in the old days they did the paper here, and of course they used one layer because that was code back then. They did the paper and then they put these fir strips, meaning when you put this wire on here, the fir strips would keep it 3/8 above the wall itself. Of course, our wire today is self-furred. We don't need this these fir strips. So we're going to go ahead and tie our new paper to the underneath here and new wire all the way around. So I just thought I'd point out these fir strips because they're all over this particular job. Anyway, we'll finish up with the lath and we'll just show you the completion. And I'm just finishing up the stapling. I'm using, of course, pneumatic gun. It's a lot faster than furring nails. And since we're already furred out with self-furring wires, we don't need the nails. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and fuse this window and we're going to get out of here. We'll see you when we get ready to do this texture. Okay folks, I'm back and what we're doing is scratch coat right now. Now, what I'm going to do is I've got luminite in the scratch coat because once I'm done with this in 10-15 minutes, I want it to be able to put the next coat on immediately. Right here where we have the tie-in, I used a water hose when we lathed this and I got all the dust and dirt off because dust and dirt will sit right here, so kind of important to remember that too. Broom it off, dust it off with air, or get it off with water. I chose the water because it was handy. So I'm doing this first coat and in about 20 minutes I'm going to do the second coat. I'll show you that part when we do it because I had a couple fellows now who called me and said, when do you float it? So I'm going to go ahead and after I put my second coat, I'm going to show you when to float it. And that basically means, like right now we're pretty wet with the first coat. But once this cures and sets, I'm going to put the second coat. And when the second coat is cured but not fully dry, I'm going to show you how to use the water with a bucket and sponge float it to get this particular texture. Okay, now I'm doing the second coat. And again, the second coat also has luminite. Luminite is an accelerator. Man, it sets this quick. So already my first coat is set and I'm putting my second coat on right now. And when I'm true, meaning the window and the frame are perfectly level all the way around, then I'll show you a little bit more in detail than I have been in the future or the past as far as when to actually hit this with a float. And I'm using a green sponge float. There's 2 types of float, the hard rubber, then the green one, which is a sponge with a handle. And that sponge with a handle, I'm going to dip in the water and I'm just going to float this out. If it gets too hard, obviously it won't float out. And if it's too soft, when I put the water, it'll wash it all off. So that's what I'm having fellows call me, telling me, when do we do the float? So I'll show it to you a little bit better. That way you get an idea of exactly when to float. Okay guys, now that I've got the second coat on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as a rod. I'm going around here, and it's already hard. You can see how hard it is already. I'm using a lot of muscle now that I let it sit just a little bit too long. Okay. See, that didn't take me but, oh, I'd say 15 minutes to do both coats. One thing I have heard many times is I'm fast.
That's what she said.
My son, the plaster and the whiz kid on camera, and now the comedian. What I meant is, I've got all the tools necessary in order to complete this job competently at a pretty good speed. Okay, so now I'm on the floats. So I'm coming upward, and when you're floating it, see there? Now this, let me just show you. It's not hard completely, but it's about right to float. So hopefully the computer can pick that up where I poke those holes in it. Now I'm show down here. What I do is I grab the float with my glove. I get a little bit wet, spin it around. I don't want too much water on this because if I put too much water, it's going to take it off. And I'm going to do the sides first because the sides hit the stucco sides here, which is raw, and it draws out all the water. So what I'm going to do is come upward now. Now the majority of the water is on the float, and I'm hitting this joint. So now I can hit this right here because I don't have too much water on it. I've already used the water. And go upward, guys, especially if you're new. I mean, I can go down, but I've been doing this a lot of years. So upward, upward, upward. When it's finally set, you can go down. Notice how I'm doing little circles now. And what I'm trying to achieve is the texture that they have, which is light dash originally, but it's been painted 10-20 times, so now it's a heavy float. I'm using a sand instead of Ole or plaster sand. It's a little heavier, so that way I can bring the aggregate out without the dash. All right, we're going to hit this. We're going to come up. A lot of water on the top. And again, I just put this brown coat on, but I have aluminite in it. Aluminite is an accelerator. So, there we have it. I've almost got the texture. I'm going to dip this in water a couple more times, and then I'll come back and clean that door frame. Okay, dip it in water. Come on down, Jay. Let's show this. Dip it in water. I normally put about half a bucket of water. If I fill it up, then I won't be able to get the water off the float. I need the empty bucket, or half empty, to hit this. Okay, now that I've got a lot more water on here than the first time, because now I want to bring the aggregate out, bring the sand out. So I'm hitting it with more water, and I'm squaring it off. This is the #1 question I hear from guys saying, how the heck do you float that stuff? What is floating? Most people think you do the brown coat, then you come back another day and you float. No. You do it before the brown coat has a chance to really get hard. If I waited another 15 minutes, I would not have been able to do it because it would have been too hard. Here we go. We're going to get this joint. A lot of water now. Go. The more aggregate you want to achieve, the more water you put. If I wanted it where it's not as sandy, then I use less water. Okay, that top's done. Rather than bore you for the next 5 minutes of here, I'm going to go ahead and float it, and then I'll show you the final results. Okay guys, there you have it. This is not yet fully hard as a rock. It's still a little soft, and that's when you do your sponge float finish. Otherwise, you'll have issues with it won't float if it's too hard. And again, if it's too soft, it'll come right off. Once you're all done with that, the obvious is just to go ahead and pull the clip off the window. There you have it. Then I'll just take a rag and clean up these little guys like that. Well folks, hope you learned something. This is Kirk, with Kirk Giordano Plastering. Thanks Jay for doing the video. We'll see you on the next one.